So, ever since I was young, a little kid, I've always felt this need to know how things work. I was constantly taking my toys apart to see how they were put together, and I would mix toys and put them together, and I love the process of like uncovering and discovering things and then rearranging it so that it makes something that is enjoyable to look at. I think the art that I'm doing now is more of it is a small representation of what I did as a child, but it's also the influences that I've had as an adult. Architecture. When I moved to Salt Lake, there was, tall buildings, really old brick buildings mixed with contemporary buildings. And there's a sort of conflict between the two that I think is interesting. There's a kind of vibe that you get from a city that has a lot of people in it and a lot of just different cultures. There's just a certain feeling you get from it. So trying to interpretate what that feeling is onto a visual canvas is kind of what I try to convey. I think innovation comes from trying new ideas and seeing if those ideas actually work. Because it's a process. You may come up with what you think is the greatest idea in the world, and then through testing it out, it doesn't actually end up to be that way. But if you push the process enough, eventually you find that, there's a piece of this idea that really works. Here's a perfect example or a perfect statement that I've come up with that I live by, is that a lot of people, particularly instructors, educators, they have a certain set of rules that they live by and that they make up or that the system has made up. And my ideal has always been that people who live by the rules are confined by those rules that they've made. And people who make the decision to bend or to even break those rules have the freedom to find new ideas and innovations. We all come from an influence of some sort. Whether we know it or admit it or not, we're influenced by things around us. Then we have to take those influences and synthesize them into something else. I think abstract art is so hard to interpret, especially if some of my stuff can be pretty hard to interpret, A lot of people, I just like them to interpret what it is, and they say, yeah, this looks like that, and they can make their own interpretation of it. And that's what we all do with art, really. Yeah. It's up to us to kind of decide what we think it is in the end.